Good evening. We're going to start February 19th meeting. Invocation will be by Craig Shadrach, Pledge of Allegiance by John Grogan. Then we'll have the roll call. Please stand.
Bow with me. Father in heaven, we thank you for this opportunity to meet together tonight as a legislative body and as citizens and as staff members. We pray, Father, that you'll send a blessing on those of our number who are first responders. We're going to be honoring some police officers. We ask that you bless the fire service as well and those that are serving in our military. Father, we pray this evening that you'll bless us with the wisdom and respect that we should have for our fellow men, regardless of race, gender, religion, background. We pray, Father, that we'll be respectful for one another. And Father, we pray that everything we do will be in a manner pleasing in your sight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Commissioner Grogan?
Here.
Commissioner Wilson?
Here.
Mayor Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Firstner?
Here.
And Commissioner Oliver's absent.
All right, presentations and proclamations. We're going to have a presentation of check by Director of Parks and Recreation Mark Johnson to the Stars of West Orange as the beneficiary of the proceeds from the Chick-fil-A 5K run and Kids Fun Run during the 2018 Founders Day celebration.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager. Tonight we're going to present a check to our beneficiary for this year's 5K, Chick-fil-A 5K Fun Run. First I want to recognize a couple employees. Torrin Hogan, he's a rec leader in the Parks and Rec Department. And Stephen Matthews, he's a recreation leader also. And at this time I'm going to bring up Beth Otts, who's with Chick-fil-A. And she's going to go over a couple things and we'll present the check.
Our favorite person.
Good evening. First of all, we want to thank the City of Ocoee. This was our 8th annual 5K, and we partnered with the City of Ocoee, and we are just so grateful for that. Want to thank the mayor for coming out that morning and the commissioners who helped with that. Big thanks to Mark Johnson, Director of Parks and Rec, and his team, Torrin and Steven and the rest of them. They were fabulous. We want to say a big thank you to all of our community partners. Dr. William Fravel, Brewer Orthodontics, they're here tonight. They do our Kids Fun Run, which is growing every year, and we're so thankful for them. They can come on down. And of course, a big, big thanks to the participants who come out and support our 5K every year. We always have a local nonprofit that can apply to be the benefactor. We will open that, applications will go up at the end of this month. If you have a nonprofit in Ocoee with the zip code, Ocoee zip code, you can apply, okay? So make sure you're looking for that on the Chick-fil-A Facebook pages or the City of Ocoee website. We had our biggest race yet this year. We had 472 participants. Woohoo! And I'm asking you all to lace up your shoes, get a partner, get a team, get a school, get a company, get a city. Whatever you need, we want to beat those numbers this year. My goal is 550, so we want to grow it up to 550 this year. It will be this year a little different. It's going to be in October. So October 26th will be our 9th annual Chick-fil-A 5K with the City of Ocoee. So we will have a new benefactor this year. Every year we are blessed to be able to have someone that applies and becomes the benefactor, and they get a percentage of the race, of the participants, of the fee, okay? So we have an early bird special that's amazing for students and schools, so make sure you look out for that as well. And right now, I would like to introduce this year's recipient with Stars of West Orange, and we have with us tonight Alicia Douglas and Dorcas Dillard. Come on down. If you're not familiar with Stars, they're a fantastic nonprofit that helps our schools, and they need help all year round, not just during the 5K. So I'm gonna let them tell you a little bit about them.
Hello, good evening. Stars of West Orange has been around for 16 years. This is our 16th year of giving starting. It was started by Joe and Chesta Hembrook, residents here of Ocoee, and we have been supporting students, with backpacks and school supplies to start off the school year each year, the ones that are on free and reduced lunch, so that they have what they need to be ready to go back to school. And this year, we are able to provide scholarships to graduating high school students, up to $1,000 our first year, and this funds will help support that program as well. Hopefully, we'll grow it next year.
I've been a board member for a number of years, and we're always just excited when the community comes out. We do things at Christmas time, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day. We do gift wrapping that helps support the organization. We always need volunteers for those things to help with setup and all those things. So please look at our website, support.org.
And we have a volunteer center in the West Oaks Mall.
Again, big hand for STARS and all that they do in our community. I also want to do a shout out, of course, to our police department, our fire department, who we could not do this race without. We really, 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 really appreciate you and all you do for our communities. I got a couple ideas this year to grow the 5K. I'm thinking about, maybe some district contest or something. I'm working on it up here. I'll be back with y'all. But we just want to make sure that everybody puts that date down. October 26th, 2019, 9th annual 5K. And now we get to give STARS some money so they can put it back into the community and help the students. Okay? Again, Dr. Fravel and Dr. Brewer has joined Dr. Fravel's office this year, so it was his first 5K that he did with us, and he was phenomenal. He won in his age group. I think his whole family won in their age groups. They're runners, but we're very blessed to have him in the community as well. So big thank you for y'all again. Thank you, guys. And Mark, we're going to go down and take a quick picture.
All of you come down front and get a picture.
You got a big check?
Chick-fil-A is one of our outstanding merchants in the city that puts a lot of time and effort into everything we do here, and we appreciate it. Dr. Fravel has been involved with them for a long time. We really appreciate that.
I was wanting to stay here with so many people. Will we cover it up? Oh, I guess not. We'll go to the side.
All right. Settle down here. Next, we have the presentation by Chief Brown and the Citizens Advisory Council for Ocoee Police Department. You can introduce people with you, Charlie.
Yes, I'm Victoria Laney. I'm a member of the Citizen Advisory Council for the Ocoee Police Department. And every quarter, actually, we pick the officers of the quarter. And it's always a challenge because we have so many fine officers and they always do such a good job. They really all deserve our praise, our prayers, as we heard tonight, and our applause. But we were able to pick out specific people to win the awards. I'll go in the same order as on this. So first we have the nomination for the Civilian of the Year Award. This is Ross Brummett. When he was hired, he was challenged to restart a crime analysis unit that had been vacant for some time. He was presented with limited resources and lacked a subject matter expert to mentor him. Despite these odds, Ross was up to the challenge and began work immediately. He took the initiative and traveled to other agencies within the Central Florida area, and he partnered with other crime analysis units to obtain the mentorship. Within weeks of assuming the position, he single-handedly built an exceptional crime analysis unit. It acted as a force multiplier for our department. He assisted the patrol division in targeting areas, hotspots. He targeted hotspots for crime, and he allowed the officers to maximize their enforcement efforts. Thereby, he reduced the overall crime when compared with the previous reporting period. He also assisted the Investigations Division in developing leads, establishing patterns, and finding trends leading, allowing the assigned investigators to solve numerous crimes. During his first year, Ross rose to the challenge and performed at a higher level than anyone could expect. In his short time here, he has become known as an expert in his field, and he's established strong bonds with his peers. Ross portrays a professional image of the Ocoee Police Department, the city of Ocoee, and its citizens, and is a valuable asset to the police department and the community. Let's hear it for Ross Brummett. Come on up. We'll go on. While we're presenting the awards, we're going to have a brief bio, too.
As Chief Brown presents each award, I'll give the bio so the pictures can be taken. Russ is originally from the St. Petersburg, Clearwater area. In 2017, Russ graduated from the University of Central Florida, where he obtained a bachelor's degree in criminal justice with a specialty in crime mapping and data analysis. Russ started with the Ocoee Police Department in April of 2018 as the department's new crime analysis. He eventually moved to Ocoee and is now a Ocoee resident.
Real quick, while we're doing these awards, I want to say something. I've got a new medallion I'm going to give out, and we do different awards here at the city for different things we do. So tonight, he'll be the first one to get one.
Wonderful. Thank you. Next, we have Dennis Murray. This was his nomination for Volunteer of the Year Award. During the year 2018, Dennis volunteered every week in the Records Department, where he fingerprinted the Publix. His volunteer work frees up other office staff to get their other work complete. During 2018, Dennis also volunteered his time by working at multiple community events, such as Founders Day, the Christmas Parade, and the Martin Luther King Parade. In addition, Dennis volunteered his time throughout the holiday season to assist with the police department's holiday toys for kids in need. Dennis also had a personal hardship during the past year, and despite this hardship, he was volunteering for the police department a few days later. He's committed to the police department's mission statement of partnering with the community to provide excellent police service. Dennis always displays a positive attitude when he volunteers. He is respectful to his coworkers and to the public. Dennis portrays a professional image of the Ocoee Police Department, the city of Ocoee and its citizens, and is a valuable asset to the police department and community. Dennis, please come up.
Dennis began volunteering for the police department in 2012 and is a graduate of the Ocoee Police Department Citizen Police Academy. Prior to this, he volunteered his time at the Fernandez Police Department. As soon as Dennis began volunteering for the department, it was quickly realized by everyone Dennis would be a valuable asset to the police department. In his first year of volunteering, he was selected as the 2012 Volunteer of the Year. Dennis is an Ocoee resident, and over the past 7 years, Dennis has volunteered on a regular basis and has helped assist the police department with many different tasks and community events.
These are Dennis's grandchildren.
We can see that.
Next, we have Officer of the Fourth Quarter. And they're always, as I said, it's just amazing to see what our officers do from quarter to quarter. In this case, we have Officer Eric Edwards, Canine Officer Eric Edwards. He has had 2 occasions that stand out this quarter as exceptional and deserving of recognition. On 10/28/2018, Officer Edwards was assisting the Winter Garden Police Department as they searched for 2 suspects who had just committed an armed carjacking. The suspects fled from Winter Garden officers only to crash their stolen vehicle near the Turnpike and State Road 50. Officer Edwards and his canine, Reno, began a track of the suspects that took him into very thick woods. The woods turned into swampland, and he was waist deep in water. Officer Edwards cast out his canine, who ultimately located and engaged a suspect, who, by the way, was presumed to be still armed with a firearm. Canine Reno, his canine officer, had a hold of the suspect's arm, and he foolishly attempted to fight the dog. Officer Edwards informed the suspect that if he stopped resisting, the dog would be removed from the bite. The suspect failed to do so and fought Reno for another few seconds until he finally got some sense and Officer Edwards disengaged the dog so the assisting officer could effect arrest. Shortly thereafter, the second suspect was spotted in the same area. Officer Edwards gave commands to surrender, and seeing and hearing what had happened to the other suspect who tried to fight the dog, the second suspect quickly surrendered. Officer Edwards' bravery and tenacity were clearly on display as he entered the dangerous, swampy environment knowing the suspects could be armed and could ambush him in the difficult terrain. And so that's not all. I mean, that's one of the things he did, but wait, there's more here. I just love, they're all so great. Okay. On 12/22/2008, Officer Edwards responded to the Walmart store in reference of 3 individuals stealing a large quantity of expensive electronic equipment. Upon his arrival, he encountered the suspect vehicle in front of the store with 2 of the suspects loading out electronics into the vehicle. He activated his emergency equipment and the vehicle began to flee with one suspect hanging on to the vehicle and being dragged through the parking lot. The other suspect was fleeing on foot. Officer Edwards quickly deduced that he had felony charges for the suspect and deployed, once again, Canine Reno to assist in apprehending the suspects. As the suspects fled on foot, the 2 separated, and Canine Reno pursued one of the suspects to the apartments across the street. Reno engaged the suspect, who aggressively fought the dog. Officer Edwards kept redeploying the dog and kept him engaged on the suspect, who refused to surrender. But then backup officers arrived and took the suspect into custody. The suspect is believed to be part of a large-scale theft ring. While it may seem at first blush the canine is due this award, it's important to consider that the dog is an instrument of the officer. Without the consistent training and working with the dog, as well as the direction provided by the handler, the dog would not be an effective tool. In addition, it is the handler who reads the dogs and puts him on the scent to provide the best chances of a successful capture. It is also the handler who ensures that the minimum amount of force is used on the suspects to effect arrest, and the handler ensures the dog releases a suspect at the appropriate time. The above examples show that Officer Edwards is truly deserving of this award, but we want to make a few more comments for consideration. Officer Edwards is a true team player. He works with his fellow officers to support them in their cases and provides them with a case law information. He has them participate in training with him and Reno and takes a big brother approach to his role on the squad. He is often seen and heard working with the youngest of officers to improve their skill set and to help them locate narcotics and wanted persons. The role of a canine unit is to be a force multiplier, and Officer Edwards exemplifies that model by being an informal leader. Please come up forward.
Before I read Officer Edwards' bio, just wanted to point out that the K-9's true owner is here, Officer Edwards' daughter, and he also brought his wife Jen along with him. K-9 Officer Eric Edwards is a native of Titusville, Florida. In 2005, he joined the U.S. Army and served for 5 years, which included 2 tours overseas, first in Iraq and then in Afghanistan. Once he returned, he attended the Valencia Criminal Justice Police Academy and was hired as a full-time police officer with us in December of 2012. He spent the first 4 years of his career in the patrol division. In November of 2016, he was transferred to the K-9 unit, where he currently serves with his partner, K-9 Reno.
Where is your dog? I'm sure everyone is.
Next, we're going to have CIT Officer of 2008 Year Award. And he's right here, I'm sure. We have Okay. Yeah, this officer, CIT Officer of the Year Award is to Officer Bruce Riggins. And would you like to say a little bit about what he's done? Oh, it's right here. In recognition of your dedication and professionalism, the department and your peers have recognized you as the Ocoee Police Department's CIT Officer of the Year 2018. Your dedication, actions, and a job well done have not gone unnoticed. Congratulations.
Officer Bruce Riggins is a native of South Florida. He began his career in law enforcement in 1980 with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, where he served until 1989. Before coming to the Ocoee Police Department, he also worked at other police departments such as Oakland Park Police Department and the Broward County Sheriff's Office when they took over the Oakland Park Police Department. In 2008, he was hired as an Ocoee police officer and became CIT certified the same year. Since 2008, he has held many different positions within the agency, including school resource officer. He patrolled the Stark Lake during the summer months, and he's also a field training officer. Officer Riggins is joined by his wife, Nina, who's here tonight.
Then we have as Officer of the Year, Officer Blake Prince. Officer Prince has been on 2 separate occasions this year instrumental in saving a life. His ability to read a situation and take decisive action were key to him administering the life-saving drug Narcan to 2 individuals who had overdosed on narcotics. In addition, one of his fellow officers has presented to me an occasion where Officer Prince performed exceptionally, displaying patience, calm, and excellent conflict resolution skills. In January 2018, Officer Blake responded to and located a female in a bathroom. She was laying on her back and she was not responsive. A friend of the female indicated that she had just injected heroin. With this information, Officer Prince, fearing the female was overdosing, administered a dose of Narcan to her nostril and then relocated the female into the living room where the Ocoee Fire Department continued to work on the victim. She was transported alive to the hospital, certainly due to the quick actions of Officer Prince. In March 2018, Officer Prince responded to a call for service when he had opened the bathroom door and observed a male laying in a fetal position with his head laying on the floor and his body propped up against the bathroom door. The male was not responsive to voice contact or physical touch. Officer Prince was able to open the bathroom door and grab the male by his shoulders, leaned his body backwards. The male had clear fluid. Anyway, the male was in trouble. He was just in really bad trouble. So Officer Prince observed a powdery white substance and a needle with clear liquid inside. He then dragged the male onto the living room floor where he used his Narcan nasal spray on the male. The spray was effective and allowed advanced medical units to assist the male until he was transported to the hospital, once again alive. He saved 2 lives. He later took the male into Protective Marchman Act custody for treatment of substance abuse. That alone is amazing, but this next one is there. All the officers are exceptional, but listen to what he did. He responded to a call in reference to a young man acting erratic towards his parents. The man was the subject of an OPD situational awareness bulletin, which stated the following: the man was entering various stores at the Mall of Millennia and displaying erratic behavior. He was heard mumbling, "Allah wills it," and that he had to comply with the Muslim schedule. Mall security was notified, and upon locating the subject, they notified him that he was no longer welcome in the mall. The man did not leave and proceeded to walk away. At that time, an OPD officer informed him that he was no longer allowed on the property and pointed out the closest exit. The man uttered in an aggressive tone, "You better not follow me." The officer then placed his hands on the man's shoulders to escort him off mall property, but he spun around, took an aggressive fighting stance, and stated, "I'm standing my ground." The man had a negative view on law enforcement due to his mother being previously arrested for resisting arrest. When we arrived on the scene, Officer Prince immediately began speaking with the man. He separated him from his parents in an attempt to calm him down. The man was still visibly upset. So Officer Prince began speaking with him about topics the man seemed to be interested in and could relate to. While the rest of us on scene figured out the situation at hand, Officer Prince kept the man calm and preoccupied. He even attempted to learn some Arabic from the man. And that seemed to really help him calm down. He really seemed to enjoy that the officer was interested in that and wanted to learn from him. The man was afraid to go back to Aspire, which is a mental health facility. It was determined on scene the man needed to be taken into custody. But when he was informed of this, he started becoming hostile towards the officers and became visibly upset. The man mumbled things such as, "You're not taking me back there. I'm not going back to that place." Officer Prince exercised great patience and spoke with the man in a calm and relaxed manner in order to help him comply with the suggestions or the orders of the officers. During the attempts to peacefully get him to come with us, with the officers, the man made multiple statements which led us to believe we would be in a physical altercation with him. Officer Prince spoke with him repeatedly over the things they had discussed and related with each other. The man eventually became slightly less hostile and agreed to go to Aspire, but only if Officer Prince would agree to drive him there. And he entered Officer Prince's vehicle willingly and was taken to Aspire mental health facility with no further incident. The man willingly entered Aspire with no force necessary. Multiple officers on the scene spoke of the incident after the fact, and all of us agreed about the great work by Officer Prince. This could have been a disaster, at the mall. This could have been horrible, but Officer Prince was able to get the man to peacefully agree to getting mental health treatment without injury to any of the officers, without injury to himself, and without any injury or bad publicity for the mall. So for that, for saving 3 lives and probably saving even more, for his calm actions in this incident at the Mall of Millennia, Officer Prince is our Officer of the Year.
Officer Blake Prince, who is now Detective Prince, grew up in Winter Park, Florida, and graduated from Edgewater High School in 2010. He attended and graduated from Wingate University in North Carolina in 2015 and obtained a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. He also was a college baseball player for that school's team. Detective Prince was hired and sponsored through the Police Academy by the Ocoee Police Department in 2015, where he graduated first in his class at the Lake Tech Police Academy. He has been full-time police officer since December of 2015, where he spent the first 3 years of his career on Midnight Patrol Division. In January of 2019, Detective Prince was transferred to the Criminal Investigations Division, where he is currently works as a detective. Detective Prince is engaged to his fiancée Morgan with a wedding date set for October. He's also accompanied by his parents here tonight.
That's it for now, but our officers are going to keep working, and soon we'll have an officer of the first quarter to present. So, we're having one last picture with all of them. Yay. Great idea.
As you can see, our police department, as well as our fire department, do an outstanding job, and we're proud of them. But I just want to take a minute. I've been trying to do this ever since the holidays. Separate, Charlie. Our police department and our civilians that work for us, they do an outstanding job, and I know it, during the holidays they do a lot of toys for tots and a lot of collecting stuff for all the people around the area. But I got a call Christmas Eve in the afternoon, and I don't remember what time it was. Sometime Christmas Eve, about 3 o'clock, I think it was. I got a call from this lady that had 6 kids with no Christmas. And I'm sitting there at the house about 3 o'clock, and I'm trying to figure out. I looked at my wife, and I said, oh, my gosh, what are we going to do? So I said, you know what, I'm going to call Deputy Chief McCosker, because I know I could get a hold of him. I got him on the phone, so I called Deputy Chief McCosker, and lo and behold, he went out and took the lady over to the police department. I don't know who all helped him. I heard his kids did too, and got that lady and those 6 kids taken care of for Christmas. So I just want to personally thank him. My wife thanks him because she was there with me and she couldn't believe it either. So he went out of his way to go do that on Christmas Eve. And that just shows you the kind of people we have working for us at the police department. And I want to personally give this to you. I've been trying to do that for about a month and a half. Thank you. So, you want to say anything?
I am Chief Brown. I'm the Chief of Police for the City of Ocoee, and I'm proud of all the employees. You got a little highlight of a couple of the things that the officers do, but every day they don't surprise me, but they make me feel really proud to be the chief, and everyone that lives in our community and all of West Orange County can be proud of them. So I want to thank all of them, and thanks for the support of the commission.
Thanks, Steve. All right, now let's get down to the business. Comments from citizens and public. All right, on the comments from citizens and public, that is anything that's not on our agenda. If it's on the agenda, we'll discuss it during the part that it comes up on the agenda. Does anybody in the audience have any comments to make that does not pertain to anything on the agenda? All right, moving along. Staff report.
Nothing at this time, Mayor.
All right. Commissioners' announcements. Commissioner Grogan.
Nothing at this time, Mayor.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes, just want to make note that we're going to hold our 15th annual Spring Fling on March the 9th, which will happen in Bilbrey's Park, which is right behind City Hall. And it'll be from 10 to 2. It's a fun and educational day for families or individuals, so please come out, enjoy yourself. Free food, just lots of fun, and we hope you learn something. And again, this is hosted by the City of Ocoee. Thank you.
Commissioner Ferguson.
Nothing at this time.
All right, Mr. Oliver still absent there. All right, I have a couple announcements real quick. The city's general municipal election for Commissioner District 1 will be held on Tuesday, March the 12th at the Jim Beach Center off of A.D. Mims Road. Early voting starts March the 4th and goes through March the 8th at the Orange County Supervisor of Elections office. To view a sample ballot, please visit the elections page on the city's website. Coffee with a Cop is next Wednesday, February 27th, from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. at Prime Mediterranean Grill. Come out and join your neighbors and police officers for coffee and conversation. Free fingerprint ID cards will be available for the kids. Please come out to City Hall next Wednesday night, February 27th, from 7 to 8 p.m. to congratulate the winners of the 15th Annual Black History Month Essay Contest. The 5th grade students who win will recite their essays addressing Achieving My Dream. All right. 27th. Sorry. 27th, 7 to 8. Next Wednesday. All right. Consent agenda.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Wilson to approve the consent agenda, seconded by Commissioner First. Any more comments? Not, let's vote. All right. Public hearing. First reading of ordinances. First reading of ordinance adding Article 5 to Chapter 108 of the City of Ocoee Code of Ordinances relating to fire safety inspections.
This is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, amending Chapter 108 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Ocoee relating to minimum standards, adding a new definition for Florida Fire Prevention Code, and adding a new Article 5 relating to fire prevention minimum standards, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing an effective date.
All right. The second reading will be March the 5th. There will be no opening to the public tonight because we've hold it off to the next reading, which will be March the 5th. All right, second reading of ordinances, public hearing. All right, on item number 9, I got some papers here for citizens to talk. So I'm gonna lay down our rules. I give you 5 minutes on it, and if you're gonna say the same thing the next person's gonna say, please try to just let the person that talked say what, so we don't need everybody to say the same thing each time. Especially I have one here from the same house. McAllister's? Where's McAllister's? We got 2 papers here. Can we just do one?
It's two separate items here.
All right, all right, I'm just saying, I'm gonna cut them off if they're the same thing. So we'll start with, I'm gonna let Mike, our planning director, read that. And remember, 5 minutes.
All right, thanks for the record, Mike Rumor. The item before you is an annexation, a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment, and a rezoning to plan unit development. Case number AX 07-1875 for the annexation. The property is located on the south side of Old Winter Garden Road, and it's 260 feet east of the intersection of Hempel and Old Winter Garden Road. And it's on the south side. You have the Orlando Health Central properties on the north side. Property is presently in the Orange County. It is vacant. Property has it's currently zoned A1 and low-density residential land use in the City of Ocoee, Orange County Joint Planning Area Agreement. The Joint Planning Area Agreement line runs right behind these properties. So the agreed-upon land use upon annexation is low-density residential. Because the property is a little over an acre, it's a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to change it from low density to professional office and services, and then an accompanying rezoning for a 33,200 square foot medical office. The zoning across the road, there's a 7-Eleven adjacent on the west side, which is in the county, which has a commercial land use and a commercial C1 zoning. The proposal for the property, as I said, is a little over 33,000 square foot medical office building. It's situated to have a drastically reduced front setback of 10 foot on the front from the property line, which is behind the sidewalk. It is proposed to be a 3-story building. It will have parking underneath, and then the 2-story of office use above it. The property is accessed via a driveway off of Old Winter Garden Road. There is, the parcel you see, go back to the location map. The parcel you see for annexation in the comp plan and rezoning is the 1.25 acres. There's also a remnant 30-foot half right-of-way on the rear and on the east side. The other portion of the right-of-way, you can, if you follow this right-of-way line, you'll see that width diminishes, was vacated years ago. So there's a 30-foot half right-of-way behind the properties, and the site plan assumes, the PD land use plan assumes that this vacate is going to be this right-of-way is going to be vacated in the future. It is still there. So this plan unit development land use plan incorporates the area of a right-of-way that needs to be vacated. I'll come back and touch on that a little bit later. The site plan has the parking, as I said, underneath the building and to the rear. Knowing that there's potentially going to be a right-of-way on the rear behind the 7-Eleven, the applicant, as the next stage of the approval, would have to go to Orange County and seek vacation of that right-of-way. They can petition to vacate just the portion of right-of-way behind their lot, or they could petition to vacate the rest of the right-of-way. We asked that he provide an option for future cross-access to the rear with a driveway stub-out. That's what the intent of that driveway stub out is. The building has as a height of 45 feet with some additional height for the parapets to hide all of the mechanical units. The applicant who will give a presentation will discuss further some of the distancing, but just did want to say that this building being located up front adjacent to Old Winter Garden Road does have a significantly large setback to the rear. Setback by code would be 25 foot. The building setback to the property line, if the right-of-way vacate goes through, would be 115 feet. If the right-of-way is not vacated, it would be 30 foot shorter than that. As part of the city process, we annexed the property under one motion. We'll do another motion with the small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to office. By having that land use designation, this property can only develop as office, professional office, medical office. We're not seeking a land use of commercial, which is next door where the 7-Eleven is, which could then have retail, restaurant, office, a lot of different uses. The plan unit development also has a rezoning to PUD, and that PUD doesn't have general guidelines. The specifics for that zoning is located within this land use plan. If any of the criteria of this land use plan changes, if it's significant, if it creates more intensity, changes access points, changes location, they have to come back through this process and revise that land use plan. I say that to say, if in the future the right-of-way does not get vacated, and he's got to fit on just the 1.25 acres that he presently has, that would require this plan, the revision to the plan coming through this commission. This plan also, you do not see stormwater retention on it. The proposal is to provide the stormwater retention under the parking. Again, if for some reason the soils, the water table, if the stormwater retention does not work underneath the park-in and they've got to provide a stormwater pond on site, the site's going to drastically change. We'll come back through this process in the public hearing. The applicant is proposing a 6-foot wall along the rear with a landscape buffer. They're able to park, just meet the parking criteria for office, which is one space for every 300 square feet with the site plan you see, and receive and develop the property at 33,200 square feet. I'm going to reserve some comments to later. I know there's going to be some items brought up by residents. I have been in communication with Orange County as well. I have not received an official letter or statement from the county to enter into the record. So with that, I'll entertain any questions. The applicant is here to give a presentation as well.
All right. As I said, I'm going to open the public hearing up, open. The time clock will be set at 5 minutes. When 5 minutes, if you're not done when it's done, it's over. So we'll start with Jason Morgan. Come up to the podium, give us your name and address.
Do we want to have the applicant go first to give a presentation before the audience, or?
We can do that, or when they can get up and, which one do you want to do?
Typically, they get a little period to present and then reserve to answer any questions.
Yeah. All right, we'll do that.
Okay.
Well, go ahead. We have to readdress it, we will.
I got good news. We all prepared 3 minutes instead of 5.
That's
so
great.
We thought it was 3, so.
We were giving you extra time.
See, that's county, we're not the county.
Exactly, so you followed the wrong rules.
We give you a couple more minutes.
So I'm Jason Morgan, 1644 Cerulean Way in Gotha. I'm the president of the Falcon Point Homeowners Association, the subdivision you see there in the bottom right of the screen. I've also been a resident there for 17 years. I'm speaking today, obviously, about our opinion. My job was to speak to all our residents over the last several weeks, get their opinion. I'm going to try to summarize that best here today. We're not just a lot of not in my backyarders. We actually invested in this over the last several weeks. We held a meeting of the community, kind of spitballed the pros and cons of what this development would bring. We had a meeting with Brian Denham, the applicant, where he came to our subdivision and met with us, and we actually walked and staked out where the property would be and let the homeowners see what it would look like. So we viewed it with an open mind. Then we followed up with another homeowner meeting to decide our final position. We also met with the County Commissioner Betsy Vanderlei and her staff to discuss and understand the land use agreement and express some of our concerns about stormwater and where all the stormwater is going to go. And one of our homeowners will address that. And then finally, we came here today. We got several homeowners here to express their opinion. Some quick stats about our subdivision. It's about 95 homes. About 50 of them have been there over 15 years. There's about 20 residents that have been there since the subdivision was developed 20 years ago. Some other facts I'm sure you will consider tonight when you make your decision. This property was zoned residential when these homeowners purchased the property. In fact, there was an old house in the property when most of us purchased the property. There are no other three-story structures on our side of Old Winter Garden Road or in the surrounding area. We already have groundwater issues that Elmer's going to talk about that have been exacerbated since the development of the 7-Eleven and will be even more impacted by this development. And we've recently all seen several accidents in the corner of Hempel and Old Winter Garden as the 7-Eleven opened, and we think that'll get worse with another three-story office building. So in summary, as I tried to take all the homeowners' emails and opinions, we understand the need for development. We understand the owner's rights to fair use of his land. We're all unanimous that we would love for it to stay vacant land forever. But many of us understand change is likely to happen to this property someday, and that, perhaps some compromise is warranted on us as homeowners. As you're aware, this PUD land use plan is requesting several waivers, one of which is allowing it to be a three-story structure. As we walked it, three-story structure would look right into the backyards of many of our homeowners. It'll look out of place next to our neighborhood and likely lower our property values over time. So again, we would like to see no change, but if we have to, we sincerely hope you will keep this as a single-story structure with landscape and hard barriers in place, similar to other nearby developments, as you consider your vote tonight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
3 minutes, 15 seconds.
Good job. Mike, under the setback from that building, did you say a while ago how far it is from the setback from the line to that building where it'll be?
It's 115 feet from the building to the residential
What would
property
be the
line.
normal? Could be if they backed it up, 25 feet?
25 feet under the city of Ocoee. If it was Orange County, 20 feet.
So it could have been 20 feet if they'd developed it in the county.
Yes,
But 25 with the city, but he's gonna be 118?
115.
150, okay. All right. Next is Elmer Carrier.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Elmer Carrier. I live at 3885 Shadow Wind Way in Gotha. First of all, I want to say something about the vacating Market Street there. January 10th of last year, the owners of 7-Eleven petitioned Orange County to vacate that property, and with no objection. So right now it's up to 7-Eleven to go ahead and finish that up for their part of it. However, which they have not done that in over a year's time. I talked to Betsy Vanderlei, our district commissioner, about this, and the landowners that live completely adjacent to that, you have been given permission to contact the 7-Eleven owners if they do not want to follow through with that petition. Orange County would not object if you all wanted to take that part of Market Street. Anyway, I want to talk about the environmental impact, especially the water on our community, since 7-Eleven was built. I have pictures of retention ponds before and after the construction. I have lived on this retention pond for 20 years. Our community for 20 years have enjoyed Memorial Day and sometimes 4th of July community cooks out at that pond because it's always remained dry. We set up a bounce room and water slides for our children from our community. But that did not happen last year. The picture that you look at there, his pond is full of water. Even during the 2004 and the 2005 hurricane season, 5 back-to-back hurricanes, this pond held water for a maximum of 3 days. I thought I would put my boat in there and ski, but by the time I got ready, the water was gone. Since 7-Eleven was built, the pond has never been dry again. Everyone says it's because we have a very wet season. However, approximately 200 feet across the street in your own picture there, you will see that your pond is dry. And the pictures that I left you there for you to look at, you'll see our pond is full of water. However, the city of Ocoee's pond is completely dry. I moved in our community before all the homes were completed. Shortly after the homeowners moved in there were septic tank drain problems immediately, especially at 4011 Shadow Wind Way, the south side. Less than a year he lived there, had to have the whole front yard dug up and the clay in the lower part removed and sand brought in so that his septic system would work properly. Another property at 3813 Shadow Wind Way, approximately 4 years ago, had to bring dirt and build a mound in his front yard and put in a lift station so that his septic would flow up above his front door and then back down into the ground because the water just would not recede into the soil. In the past 20 years, I would guess that about 60% of the homes in our community has had septic problems and barely passing the PERT test. That's where the water recedes into the ground, is what I understand it. In 2004 and 5, we had to install an underground drain system near the gutter drains and the homeowners' backyards because, once again, because of the clay, homeowners' yards would not drain and our roads started popping up. Again, because the water would not drain. Later on, still there today, a French drain system was also installed just north of our fence, what would be Market Street by 7-Eleven. Because of the water runoff from Hempel and property, now 7-Eleven, was flooding several homes on the north and the west side. Once again, the water would not flow into the ground. Now we have all this water being displaced by the tanks, fuel tanks, their underground reservoir system for stormwater and what have you is displacing the water. I am convinced that that is why our retention pond is now holding that water. Even with that all going on, with our retention ponds, with all of the drainage that we put it into our streets, additional drainage from people's backyards, all run into our retention ponds, that north pond still remained dry until last year. All these costs have been incurred by our homeowners or the HOA. Because we are a private community, we don't get state, county, or city funding for any of these projects. Those burdens fall upon us. It is my understanding that the construction of the new medical building just north of Winter Garden
I'll
Road,
give you 30 more seconds.
Winter Garden Road was delayed because of water intrusion. Because of the safety traffic issues, I would like a U-turn sign to be put in at the corner of Hempel and Old Winter Garden Road. Thank you for your time and patience.
Thanks, sir. All right, Edward Hugh. Give us your name and address.
My name is Edward Huck, 3873 Shadow Wind Way, directly behind that building. I was given a presentation by a county employee that lives in our community. I'd like to read it. This is from Michael Peshin. I am not Michael. My name is Michael Peshin. I am a certified city planner with a nearby municipality with over 12 years of experience and a degree in architecture, urban design. I am also a resident of Falcon Point neighborhood, south of the subject property. I have two main objections to the requested action before you today. The applicant is requesting multiple waivers to the code, two of which impact the the existing Falcon Point residential subdivision. First, the applicant is requesting a height of 50 feet where the code allows a maximum of 35 feet. The office district conventionally serves as a traditional use between commercial and residential. The proposed 50-foot is even taller than what is allowed in the closest commercial district. 50 feet is proposed because the developer started their site planning process by filling up the site with parking and then assuming they can do a podium building on top of that parking. If they need to fill up the site with parking to meet code, then that means they need a smaller building, not increased height. The existing A1 zoning district allows a maximum height of 35 feet. The proposed office land use allows a maximum height of 35 feet. Therefore, Falcon Point residents are entitled to a maximum permitted height of 35 feet. My second point of contention pertains to the reduced landscape buffer. A two-story building site next to residential use needs to provide a minimum landscape buffer within 15 feet. A three-story building site is required a minimum width of 25 feet. The applicant proposes a 10-foot buffer for a three-story building with the excuse that their building is closer to the street. This is a landscape buffer yard requirement, not a rear yard building setback requirement. The Falcon Point neighborhood was here first, and if a development wants to request a rezoning and future land use chart change to increase the development entitlements, then they need to make compatible changes to us. We may need county residents, but should not have to suffer to increase Ocoee tax base. My house is directly behind that building, and I can't see me sitting there in my pool with somebody sitting in a three-story building looking down at me. It's just ridiculous. When I bought that house, that zoning was A1, it was residential. I figured at the most, they would put in a one-story small office building, not a three-story monstrosity like that is. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Kara Callister.
Thank you, Commissioners, and good evening. Thank you, Commissioners, and good evening. My name is Karen McAllister, and I live at 3980 Shadowland Way in Gotha, Florida. I live in the Falcon Point community next to where you are voting on tonight. I know that I am only an 11-year-old girl and haven't done the things that all of you are doing now. But I know from my social studies class that I have a voice. We all stood to say the Pledge of Allegiance tonight, but to me, liberty and justice for all means a lot. It means that people like Susan B., Anthony, and Martin Luther King Jr. fought to make sure that I could be here and speak and be heard. I am asking that you vote no on this issue tonight. This is not right, that I may not get a chance to grow up in a place that doesn't have businesses everywhere you look. I want to feel safe, and since the beginning of this school year, it has taken longer for the bus to pick me up and drop me off. I have seen a lot of accidents this year on the school bus at the corner of Hempel and Old Winter Garden Road. There is more people than I can remember from last year, and they seem distracted. Allowing another business here is probably going to make things worse. Thank you for your time, and please vote no.
Thank you. All right. Next is Mark McAllister.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Mark McAllister. I live also at 3980 Shadowland Way in Gotha, Florida. I'm here tonight to speak in opposition in regards to the annexation of 3872 Old Winter Garden Road. I grew up here in Ocoee. I went to Ocoee Elementary, middle school, and I went to West Orange High School. And in fact, I've spoken here in these very chambers on issues as part of my civics class many moons ago. My concern are the effects of how they're going to happen to our neighborhood if this property is annexed and rezoned. I think that everyone can agree that no one wants a business going up in their backyard, but it's more than that. It's the increase in congestion and the invasion of privacy. At Falcon Point, we pride ourselves on having a quiet community, and I feel that it's in jeopardy. Speaking out to over commercialization and development, I think that the second and third order effects are only realized after the fact, but we have an opportunity to address it now. What separates us from the east side of Orlando, other than the cardinal direction, is that we are not overdeveloped. Over off of Alafaya Trail, it's literally business on top of business, and traffic is a mess. Speaking of traffic, from July 2017 to July 2018, there were only 3 reported vehicle accidents on that corner of Hempel and Old Winter Garden Road, according to the FHP. Since July of 2018, since the 7-Eleven's gone up till now, there has been 9 reported vehicle accidents. What's the outlook for another commercial entity? The building proposal that you've all seen from Mr. M shows parking spaces of 166 spaces on 1.25 acres. It's more than you have here at City Hall. That increased traffic flow has to go somewhere. The current layout of Old Winter Garden Road and Hempel intersection only allows a U-turn in order to reverse direction from going from east to west. Okay. Also, that median does not allow for a turn into this property from the east because there's a turn lane that accesses Health Central. Secondly, we're very concerned about the invasion of privacy. We purchased our home. This property was and still is low-density residential. There's no one peering into our homes from office buildings, and we enjoy that, and I'm sure that you can sympathize. Thank you for your consideration in this matter, and God bless you all.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public have any comments on item 9? All right, I'm gonna close the public hearing and bring up, do I need to leave it open for them too? Yeah, I'm gonna leave it open and let you come up now, sir.
Mayor, I've got some additional information based off kind of what they said.
I just want to ask one question to Mr. McAllister. I read all things and pay attention to a lot of stuff too, but I take a little offense. I'd like to know what maneuvering with the city of, political maneuvering with the city of Ocoee means. Yeah, I want it on record.
Political maneuvering was not related to the board, but it's related to the property owner that's trying to go circumvent Orange County to have the city of Ocoee try to annex the property under the joint use agreement, which had already expired. But because the petition has already happened, this hearing is actually happening. That's what that's related to, sir.
That's not a political maneuvering. That's just what you can do by the law. So that doesn't. It sounds like you're trying to say there are some things going on behind the scene here, you know.
Not with the good people of Ocoee.
Well, I hope not. Okay, just
Yes,
wanted
sir.
to put that in the record.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, I want to address, Old Winter Garden Road, the most recent FDOT traffic counts has over 33,000 trips. During the downturn of the economy, State Road 50 had about 33,000 trips to show you what kind of, how Old Winter Garden Road has changed. The approval, what's allowed under Orange County, if this property were to annex or stay in the county and develop as the 7-Eleven did, under commercial land use in Orange County C1, the Orange County code for C1 says the maximum building height is 50 feet, except 35 feet when within 100 feet of any residential use or district. So the minimum rear yard setback is 20 feet under the county. So there's some argument that they're saying this should be 35 feet. Well, the building, and it doesn't say to a property line, it says 35 feet when within 100 feet of any residential use. As I stated earlier, this building is 115 feet from the residential property line, which exceeds that. So it can be 50 feet if it's in the county high. This is a building that's 35 feet. Under the county's regulations, or if we were to propose a use similar to what the county would allow, you could have this building, The white hatched area in the rear is the 20-foot setback that the county requires. You could have this building 20 feet from their property line. When we were reviewing the PUD, we moved the building up to the front, exceeded that 100-foot for a reason. We wanted to exceed the requirements of the county and help make this project more approvable. The applicant will get up and show you, he has measurements from the distance of the house and distance of the property line and all that. But I did want to state, under the county, it could be taller than 35 foot, or it can be 35 feet, 20 feet away. And you can see this is sort of the same orienteering as a building would have, the shadows it would cast on the pools and the houses. So I just wanted to bring that up in regards to the comments.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity you give me to present my project to you. And I got to say that my grandfather grew up in Florida, and I grew up in Lakeland. And for the last 20 years, I've been here in Orange County. And excuse me, Brian Denham with Denham Engineering at 5212 Timberview Terrace, Orlando, Florida. So I've been here for 20 years. My entire recollection of my grandfather, who's a World War II vet, he's always told me that there's more traffic here than there used to be. And he's always been saying that it's always going to be the case. With that being said, we're trying to be good stewards of what we're doing here. This first slide shows the proximity of this property. It's right across the street from the hospital, Ocoee Health Central. And it's in a great corridor for medical use coming into this area. It's on a very busy road with over 24,000 trips just on this side of the street. So I feel it's a great place, appropriate place for what we're trying to do here. The hospital's also already completed a University of Florida Cancer Center on their campus and a new nursing facility. So there's quite a lot of things going on here that I would say this is possibly even a greater generator of traffic than a 7-Eleven. What we're looking at doing is putting a building close to the street as possible in order to help with this corridor coming through. Essentially, you're creating a medical corridor into the southern half of the city of Ocoee. And we're excited to be a part of this. We think it's going to look great. This is an idea of what it could look like. And we think it's going to be a very beautiful development that's going to benefit the citizens. This is another example here of a more modern medical center, 3 stories tall. And we've seen them before with parking underneath on the first floor underneath the building. And for our next one, this is our plan that we have here. The hatched area is the building that's over top of the parking. And you can see in there's existing trees that we have saved. We've gone to great lengths. As soon as I saw this property, I noticed all the mature trees on this site. And I thought it would be a shame to get rid of them in order to put our building here. So I considered the residents' concerns from the get-go on this project. And I took great lengths in design and conceptualizing to push this building as close to the road as possible. I understand that Ocoee's other corridor coming in from the west on Plant Street, we have the corridor code that requires buildings to be on the street, and I believe the hospital may be doing that on the other side of the street as well. So I think it'll make a great look to the corridor coming into the city. This is our next one that shows the parking underneath the building. And we have some elevations here that I think are very important to point out, that as you can see in this area here, we have a lot of existing trees that we're saving. Those are mature trees, and of course I didn't climb them to see how high they are, but that's approximation of the height of those trees at this time. This here actually shows where the 7-Eleven is in the foreground, and it illustrates dramatically how much closer 7-Eleven is to the adjacent homes. And so again, my desire to push this away from the residents, save the trees to block that view that they would be seeing, and block the view from the people inside the building, I think would be an asset to the site. Again, this is the other side showing where the 7-Eleven is, the canopy in the foreground, and also this actually shows the building here, the 7-Eleven building. Our building is here, hidden by trees. The 7-Eleven is not hidden by trees, and it's much, much closer to the residents. And this is what you see from Old Winter Garden. You see the 7-Eleven, you see their wide open dumpster here when it's not closed, but then you start to see our building with landscaping in front of it. Again, I believe it's going to be a beautiful building. We did have only 50 feet height that we had was just on this part here for the name, and we had called it Ocoee South Medical Center. I thought it'd be a great name for it. But if it has to be 45 feet, that's fine, we'll cut it down. But the rest of the building is 45, and that helps to shade the mechanical equipment that's going to be on the top. Additionally, medical office needs to have a little bit higher ceiling than other uses because of the electric and gas and medical stuff that's going in through the ceiling in order to provide those services. It's anticipated to probably be an ambulatory surgical component to this building. So we have ability to, we didn't raise it up just to fit parking. Obviously that helps get more square footage, but it also helps, you know, how doctors are, they want their cars covered. And when you're bringing in a patient, someone who's getting, like I've taken my wife a lot of times to get procedures done, you want to drop the patient off and pick them up underneath covering from the rain and from the sun. So it's a great spot to do that, and it's going to be high enough to bring an ambulance in case it's needed. Going on to the next one. This one again shows, this is a rear view from the residents looking at the back side of my building here, and it shows on the left that's clouded in red how in your face the 7-Eleven building is. It's an approximation on the height, maybe a plus or minus a few feet here and there, but it also shows the dumpster here, which I know they make a lot of noise when they dump that dumpster off in the mornings, as one resident had indicated. But we have a lot of existing trees here that we are saving. I did show some of the building, but that's going to be blocked by a 6-foot wall, and also I went to the effort to offer them bamboo, and I'll show you in another slide the actual line of sight distance that we exactly calculated to show how it's going to be blocked and in consideration of the residents there. Just got a couple more. This is that same plan you just saw with the 6-foot wall drawn in here and other trees and landscaping that's going to be planted along there to show you how much it really is covered. This side down here, it shows those existing trees there as well. You'll see through some of the canopy, but for the most part, it's going to block it very well. And whatever's not blocked, we're going to take care of with some specifically picked bamboo that clumps together and blocks that. It's used for screening. And this is, I think, also illustrative. I thought I'd rotate this. That's okay. So here's the homes, and you can see with an aerial with our project over top of it, this is the furthest extent of our building. The 7-Eleven is between 85 to 105 feet away from the residents. Our building is between 150, 175, and actually 210 feet away from the residents, with many of those mature trees in the way. Of course, some have to come down because of parking, but the choice ones we've kept in order to be considerate of the residents and what we're doing. And I think this is probably the best one. Is there anything to rotate this? There you go. Thank you. I think this one's the best view so far. And that what we've got here is, you can see the building, and this is all to scale. And you have someone here, a lady that's in yellow, it's kind of hard to see. You see the line of sight in yellow, looking down where it would go down by the pool if there's just a 6-foot wall. But then this bamboo typically grows 25 feet, which is up to here. But it only takes to get up to 15 feet in order to block that view of the pool and see basically to the roof line of that house in that section. So what I offered to the residents was to build a little hill here, put the wall up higher on it, and the rest of it have bamboo in order to consider. They've got some beautiful backyards, and I want them to enjoy that. And in addition to that, I want to let them utilize some of that landscape buffer to where I'm putting the wall on my side so they can have another 6, 7, 8 feet to use for their own property to plant it and so forth. So I think we've gone to great lengths to try to preserve it. And as you can see too, that view, that line of sight, that's got to penetrate a whole lot of trees there. So I think at the end of the day, it's going to block the view. Biggest thing to think about too, though, is that this is not a 24-hour a day 7-Eleven. This is a 8 to 5 Monday through Friday use of medical office. So in the evenings, on the weekends, you won't have people looking down on the properties when it's going to be the most use. I understand some people are out there during the day maybe, but that's why we're doing the bamboo to block it. And let me get this real quick, sorry. So again, a 24 hours a day is not a 24-hour use like the 7-Eleven. Some questions asked, why do we come to Ocoee? I love Ocoee. I've done several projects in the past couple of years. I appreciate the staff and the council and the people who have helped me to do projects. I think it's a great opportunity to partner with the city for this. And again, like I say, it will help out taxes somewhat when it comes into the city. And I think it's going to be a beautiful project, and we're trying to be as considerate as possible to the residents to save the trees, to preserve that view they have. The alternative, whether you go smaller stories or not, is to push the building back like most people do, and it's going to be so much closer. And I don't know of any developer who's offered to put a bamboo hedge, short of Disney, to block the view. And with that, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer, and I appreciate this opportunity to present this project to you. Thank you.
All right, Commissioners, John?
I had a couple of questions, and basically I got them all answered but one. Height, distance, hours of operation, those were important to me.
Okay.
One I have actually is for Mike. One of the gentlemen came up to speak about the water issue, but you kept referring to a retention pond. Am I missing something? Do I not understand this properly? Is the purpose of the retention pond is to gather the runoff water? Is this what I'm asking our city planner? Thank you.
So it's at the annexation level, at the rezoning level, and at the comprehensive plan level. You're not approving a stormwater retention system. So when this action, if it were to pass tonight, the property is going to remain vacant until they come through the process, preliminary and final site plan. They will have a stormwater pond that will be reviewed by St. John's River Water Management District and the City of Ocoee, yes. So it's not appropriate at an annexation to say, we don't agree because of stormwater runoff. Well, there's a time and a place to review the stormwater and ask those questions.
No, I understand that. Maybe
So-
I'm misunderstanding my concern. What I'm failing to understand is the retention pond he's talking about
Right
on
here.
their property?
It's their retention pond,
It's the retention pond for Falcon Crest.
right here, yes, correct. It's to the east of the subject property and the north side, this retention pond right here.
Okay.
I have, not till I recognize you. So, are you through?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna give you 1 minute. Come on.
You're correct. Retention ponds are for runoff water, but that particular retention pond is bought and paid for and maintained by Falcon Point, not the city, not the county. And it's not fair for us to receive water from adjacent properties that's not contributing to our
No,
situation.
I understand that.
Let me ask you a question. That water that you're talking about coming there came from 7-Eleven, right?
It's water
Or
that's
you're-
no longer,
you're-
yes,
That's what you're stating.
yes.
That's not ours.
No, it's
We're not-
Orange County.
We're not putting
But-
water into it.
I agree, sir. You are not, but I'm trying to say
Yeah.
the existing property has already created us a problem. We don't need any more
But
problems.
did you ask Orange County to come check that and see why that is?
Matter of fact, Betsy Vanderlei and the engineers were there, and they told us that a third party that did those soil samples, they are going to go back to them and review those engineered samples on that, because they saw the facts as you saw it here today.
Yeah.
They-
Okay, all right, I just want to make a statement. I had a lady call me yesterday from Gotha, I guess it's subdivision or whatever, she was under the understanding that was ours. The reason I said that, she thought the 7-Eleven was Ocoee's, which it's not. Which we'd have never, pretty sure we would have never allowed that to be there, but that's another story. But that's, okay. All right, John.
No, I'm good. I have very confidence in our staff to review all the plans for all the development there. We have no intentions, and obviously to put any excess water into anybody else's properties whatsoever.
All right, anybody else?
Oh, after the public hearing, I have some comments. After we
All right,
close, yeah.
I'm gonna close the public hearing. What? Mr. RP, you wanna talk? Come on up.
RP Monaki, Ocoee. Fire equipment, do we have fire equipment to handle this?
1820 Prairie Lake Drive. All right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
What'd you say?
A fire equipment, do we have,
Oh, yeah.
as they say, to handle this? To do, okay, thank you.
Fire chief's sitting right back there, he can tell you. Yes, sir. All right. I'm gonna close the public hearing and bring it back to the podium. And anybody else? John, you already talked, so I'll open up Commissioner Wilson.
I have some questions, and Mike, probably you can answer these for me, or it's just general comments. Orange County approved a 7-Eleven that it's open 24 hours a day, and they're on a septic system.
Yeah.
How did the residents fight Orange County regarding that 7-Eleven, because they're on a septic system that we would not allow in the city of Ocoee? Am I correct? We wouldn't allow a commercial business like that to be on a septic system.
Correct. Well, if they're within a quarter mile of a water or sewer, they have to connect by
Okay,
law.
so this building
one's
would
a little
have
bit
to connect.
This one's a little bit further. It's within the Orange County's, your utility service area. The city's utility service area is on the north side of Old Winter Garden Road, and we do have facilities closer. The intent under this application is they're gonna run to the east and connect to an Orange County sewer main.
Okay, so.
Yes, a septic tank for medical office is really tough. It'd be really large. and
I would
just
think it would be,
Yes, yes.
for a 7-Eleven, I would think that it would be unusual, but.
Well, they're
from my
low
opinion.
water users, gas
But-
stations are.
Because something being open 24 hours a day, having people pump gas, loiter, et cetera, and then coming into a situation, you're backing up to that in a medical building, which is Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, there seems like a vast difference of what you're going to get from the two buildings. It puzzles me. Also, I will just say it puzzles me that would I want to build a house, a residential house next door to a 7-Eleven? I don't think so. I mean, what's going to go in there besides some commercial property is what I guess I would like a resident tell me, what did they expect to be in there after Orange County allowed a 7-Eleven to go in that property?
Can't talk open. You have to be,
Maybe if you want to recognize, if one person
Okay, a
wants it,
minute.
I would love to hear let me finish and then we'll ask them to give these questions, because this is what puzzles me. I've been here since 1982. Yes, I saw a house sitting there for years. Now I see a 7-Eleven. I don't think you're gonna find a residential person that's gonna wanna come in and live next door to a 7-Eleven. You're in back, but I sure wouldn't wanna live next door to them. But it bothers me to think that Orange County put a 7-Eleven in there, and then we're questioning a medical building looks really sharp, but it's going to be Monday through Friday. I realize you're talking drainage issues, but the drainage issues seem to have come in when the 7-Eleven came in, if I'm hearing you correctly, okay? These folks seem to be trying to conquer or resolve the drainage issue with their property. Knowing your drainage, your retention pond is next door. I don't believe that Ocoee is the issue. I think Orange County started this when they let that 7-Eleven go in there. And I really will tell you that someone mentioned that we're supplementing the city of Ocoee's tax base. We, I don't believe as commissioners or a mayor up here are concerned regarding supplementing our tax base. We are looking to use the best use of the property to benefit the residents. But I never look at anything as to supplement our tax base. I look at it as what's the best use and how is it going to affect our residents. And I think anyone up here is voting for their residents in their district, or the city residents. This would be in my district, but I'm concerned how it's affecting our residents and our city, not supplementing our tax base. So I just want to say that I don't like that when I hear that, but that won't affect my voting by any means. But I guess I want to hear from someone. What happened with 7-Eleven? Well, how did they get in?
One person.
How did they get in? And it is quite interesting to me.
So I'll quickly say, yeah, we did not want the 7-Eleven there, and we did try to fight it, but it was already zoned for that, so a little tougher battle. This property we're speaking of today is zoned residential, is what it was when we moved in. The confusion on the drainage is, and the point Elmer was trying to make is, the 7-Eleven has underground crab traps, if you will, not a typical retention pond. It tries to capture the water underneath the parking, and it has fuel tanks, and that water had to go somewhere when it runs out of space. The same thing's going to happen here in this development. They're going to put underground crab traps, and they're going to capture as much as they can, and there'll be some level of flooding that they engineer to, but it's going to ultimately, if it holds true what happened with 7-Eleven, it's going to push that water somewhere. And where it appears to be pushing it is to our pond, the pond that hasn't been full like this in 20 years since the 7-Eleven. So that's the water issue. It's pushing water to our space. The other thing is as I went first, so it's been a long time, but we're not necessarily all not in my backyarders. We're here to say, yeah, we would love to have nothing there. We would love to have a little house there and a cottage. What we're here to say is we think a 3-story structure is just too much. I mean, we're putting parking underneath it. Bottom line is the parking gives you the parking you need to have more square footage. We would like as homeowners to see something more fitting. Citrus Oaks right down the street is a very nice single-story office space. We would love to see that. You're right. We would welcome that as opposed to another all-night facility. So we're not necessarily against everything. We think a single story in that neighborhood would be great for the city and great for our community. And I think the majority of the homeowners would come here and say, thank you, City of Ocoee, for supporting us. Thank everybody. A one-story structure is going to be perfect as our neighbor.
Thank you. Can I ask Mike one question? I think then I've got my answers. Mike, could you elaborate on the retention issue? Is that the same type of system that they want to use that's used at the 7-Eleven?
Yes. Same type of system. And so I don't have it in this plan, but yeah, it's captured under all the concrete. Yes.
Okay,
I can answer that for you.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Yes, they're called underground exfiltration systems. I've designed a lot of them in my career, and I'm a civil engineer by trade, and they hold the same amount of water as a dry retention pond would. They hold it underground so you don't see what's going on, but it still has to recover within a certain amount of time. So by law, through the St. Johns River Water Management District, we have to not put more water off-site than we had before we came there and developed it. So we're held to very strict criteria about what we can do with that. And underground exfiltration, it's a good method. Like the residents mentioned, they had clays. The solution for that is when our geotech report comes in, if it says we have clays, we have to dig it out and replace it with good clean sands, or otherwise it won't recover. So we watch that closely because I'm the last person that wants there to be floating on that site.
May I say one thing? I think the difference is a typical pond like we see usually has an overflow weir. And when that pond gets full, the overflow weir sends the water to somewhere else, another pond down the line. The crab traps have no overflow weir. They're underground. When they get full, the water has nowhere to go. So there are differences. Clearly, the 7-Eleven one in our minds isn't working perfectly. We would, a pond would be different. So I don't think they're exactly the same technical-wise.
All right, thank you.
We do have overflow here, so that will be in there.
Okay,
You got
thank
to
you.
talk into the mic, but okay.
Thank you. That was my questions. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner First.
I've heard all of your concerns, and I agree. I think they're valid from a homeowner's perspective. I also heard the developer and the efforts that he and his company has made so far to address your concerns. I think as we progress with the process and the approvals, with a little bit of give and take from both sides, I think most of these issues can be worked out. You know something is going to go there. What I think this developer is proposing is a pretty good alternative rather than an all-night affair or something else that's going to generate a lot of traffic and noise and everything else. So I think with a little give and take, these problems can be worked out, they can be addressed. It doesn't sound like the developer is hesitant at all to address any and all of the problems. So hopefully they can be worked out.
All right. I need let's have a motion first on the.
Well, let me go ahead and read the title to the first item. I'll read all three ordinances and then you can vote on them separately. The first is the annexation ordinance. This is an ordinance of the city of Ocoee, Florida, annexing into the corporate limits of the city of Ocoee, Florida, certain real property containing approximately plus or minus 1.25 acres located on the south side of Old Winter Garden Road and 260 feet east of Hempel Avenue, pursuant to the application submitted by the property owner, finding said annexation to be consistent with the Ocoee Comprehensive Plan, the Ocoee City Code, and the Joint Planning Area Agreement, providing for and authorizing the updating of official city maps, providing direction to the city clerk, providing for severability, repealing inconsistent ordinances, providing for an effective date. The second ordinance is the Comprehensive Plan Amendment. This is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, amending the Ocoee Comprehensive Plan as adopted on September 18, 1991 by ordinance number 91-28 as amended, amending the future land use map of the Ocoee Comprehensive Plan to change the future land use designation from low-density residential to professional office and services for certain real property containing approximately 1.25 acres located on the south side of Old Winter Garden Road and 260 feet east of Hempel Avenue, providing for and authorizing the revision of the official city future land use map, repealing conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, providing for an effective date. And the third ordinance is the rezoning ordinance. This is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, changing the zoning classification from Orange County A1 to Ocoee PUD Planned Unit Development on certain real property containing approximately 1.25 acres located on the south side of Old Winter Garden Road and 260 feet east of Hempel Avenue pursuant to the application submitted by the property owner, finding such zoning to be consistent with the Ocoee Comprehensive Plan, providing for and authorizing the revision of official city zoning map, repealing inconsistent ordinances, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
All right, before I ask for a motion, I want to ask a question. Is anybody here from the county? Anybody show up from the county? Nope, okay, just wanted to make sure. So, I need a motion.
This is on the annexation ordinance.
Annexation. Second reading of annexation ordinance. I need the motion for that first.
Having heard all the comments that were said, I'm going to make the motion to approve the annexation ordinance.
Motion made by Commissioner Wilson. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner First. No more comments. Let's vote. Carries unanimous with Commissioner Oliver out, not present. All right, I need a motion for second reading of small-scale comp plan amendment.
I'll make that motion.
Motion to approve.
Approve the small-scale comprehensive plan amendment.
Motion made by Commissioner Wilson to approve the small-scale comp plan amendment. Do I hear a second?
That's second.
Seconded by Commissioner First. No more comments? Let's vote. Motion carries 4-0 with Commissioner Oliver absent. All right, I need one for second reading of rezoning ordinance.
I'll make that motion for the second, approve the reading of the rezoning ordinance.
Motion made by Commissioner Wilson for the second reading of rezoning ordinance. Do I hear a second?
A second.
Seconded by Commissioner Forster. No more comments, let's vote. All right, motion carries. For Commissioner Oliver absent.
Thank you,
All right.
Mr. Mayor and council members and Mr. Rummer. Thank you.
All right, number 10, second reading of ordinance for Ocoee Town Shops, PUD, substantial amendments to the planned unit development land.
Yes. Again, for the record, Mike Rumor, this is infamous property on the corner of Clark Road and State Road 50. I believe some of you attended a groundbreaking with hot dogs from a hamburger restaurant. But the property was under contract by a different individual. The owner
What
at
was
the
the name of that
time,
restaurant, Mike? I'm sorry. What was it? It was the
Burger
back?
Craft or something.
Oh,
Yeah.
I remember.
So the parcel is vacant, as you know, and has a PUD. This is going back 2009, there was a plan unit development approved on this property. Specifically what's before you today is, it's a rezoning to PUD. It's a major amendment because the development plan is, the applicant, property owner, is seeking to change the development plan. Two items are changing here. First, the original plan unit development required this 9,000 square foot standalone restaurant space. There was other requirements such as a fountain in the front, that's still staying. The original plan had underground storage proposed so that you don't see any retention ponds, and you have retail space. The property has sat, had brokers working on this. We've shown this property to the different ICSC and talked to people, and then it did get under contract by a developer, and he had a groundbreaking and cleared it and then walked away. The same property owner the whole time, he is now wanting to develop. He's had some success developing some other properties. So the changes to the land use plan, this is showing the underground storage. What's changing is two things. He's going to take the underground storage and do a retention pond, so that amends the size of the retail, but it's still two retail spaces in this new plan. You have a retail space. But what's changed is that 9,000 square foot dedicated restaurant space, it was shown as a 6,000 and a 3,000 square foot restaurant, is being changed to just a long retail, 15,000 square foot retail building. The owner, as being involved all the way through the process, understands how dearly important it is us to try to get a restaurant, and seeing how the restaurant trends have changed in fast casual. He's, in his plan for this building, he's put wrapped around porches on the end caps to try to entice restaurants to use those. So this is amendment to the plan to go from the required restaurant space to a retail restaurant, and then just a little slight modification. Still has entrance points from Clark and from Jacob Nathan. There's a cross access to the site to the north that Sal Mawandi is developing. He's just about finished. So it's a major amendment because we're changing the land use plan, they're not increasing the overall density, they're just changing that requirement to have the standalone restaurant. The pond in the front is still going to be an element of the development. The applicant is present, and the engineer for the applicant as well. Staff recommends approval.
All right. I'm gonna open the public hearing. You want to do that first?
No, we'll do it after.
All right, we'll open the public hearing. Anybody in the public need to want to talk about this issue? How about the development? This is the one that, right on Highway 50, right?
Yes.
Hot Dog City.
Good evening. I'm Bill Hawkins-Smith, Ford Engineering Group, 5127 South Point Avenue in Lake Orlando. We've been involved in this project probably 6-7 years. The developer bought the property back in 2007. He went through the PUD process. We did full site plan permitting 2013-14. We had a contract in 2017 to sell it, and that's when it was cleared, and that sale fell through. This is just the Orange County traffic in the area, As you can see, 2003 to 2004 is the peak. Like on State Road 50, it's dropped from 53,000 down 39,000, okay?
That's in
It's not for new
2000.
glasses.
Remember I
Over
told
in
you-
front of the ball, you know, here's 42,000 down to, I think, 30,000 now. So, I mean, Mike has tried to market this project. Developers tried to market the project. We've tried to get you your 9,000 square foot restaurant, and it just hasn't happened. I mean, we're still committed to putting a quality restaurant on this corner, whatever, if that's possible. At the Planning and Zoning Commission, they asked for real silverware, is basically the way they put it.
They wanted to know if the restaurants would have real silverware or plastic.
In talking to the developer tonight, he showed me one restaurant name they're trying to get. They've got cloth napkins. So, I mean, we're trying very hard to do this. Okay, this is the empty corner, right across from Cane's. You've got, it's direct access into the city, so we're trying to create a beautiful project here that, you know, we can all be proud of. You know, we've got, you know, power poles on one side, mast arm with a signal on the other. This is just a larger plan of what Mike had earlier. You know, we're still proposing a restaurant each corner. This is an enlargement of the property. You know, it's got frontage on all 4 streets. So we're making, even though this is the rear of a restaurant, retail, whatever it is, it still has to be a storefront. You know, you can see we've got awnings, canopies, projections. This is just the overall plan that Mike has as part of the PUD. This is an enlargement of one of the building elevations. And the bottom is another shopping center that we did for the same developer. You can see there's changes in roof lines. There's, you know, here's an awning, here's a canopy. Changes in textures. You've got stonework. We're trying to, you know, do the same type of different architectural features, like here's a canopy, here's an awning, here's stonework. You know, here's the corner of that building. You can see that there's a variety. It's not like our neighbor to the north was basically a flat building with a white stripe. You know, this is going to be exposed on all 4 sides. You'd have basically whether you're standing on Colonial or in the parking lot, it's going to look the same because the back is the false front. So it's basically what we're trying to present. Get approved so we can, you know, proceed and hopefully get you a quality restaurant in here.
And this is, the elevation's major. We've been going through this process a while. I've said no a number of times. I just wanted to be sure that the view from State Road 50 did not look like the back of the house as it does in that development just west where you have the Honey Bay Tam and the vitamin shop where you see the back doors. So they've committed to a back that looks like a front. And so these elevations run with the project. So when they come in for building permits, it doesn't match, I say, nope, gotta go back to the commission or, you know, make it right, so.
Okay, so this is the parking lot side and that's the State Road 50 side. They're basically identical.
Maybe we can get them to paint that power pole green or something.
Well, you have nice mast arms. Because you're just starting the CRA right there at that point, correct? Is that where the CRA starts?
CRA starts, yes, right there.
Right there at that
yes.
point.
All right. So then,
All right, let me go ahead and read the title to the ordinance. This is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, approving a substantial amendment to the land use plan for Ocoee Town Shops PUD for certain real property comprising approximately 3.39 acres, located north of and adjacent to State Road 50 and west of and adjacent to Clark Road, pursuant to the application submitted by the property owner. Finding such zoning to be consistent with the Ocoee Comprehensive Plan and the Ocoee City Code as of the adoption date of this ordinance, providing for and authorizing the revision of the official city zoning map, repealing inconsistent ordinances, providing an adoption date and an effective date.
all right, if nobody else has any comments from the public, I'm gonna close the public here and bring it back to the podium. Do I hear any comments or do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve,
Substantial amendment to the
substantial amendment to the PUD land use plan.
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Wilson for item 10, the substantial amendment to the plan unit development land use plan, and seconded by Commissioner Grogan. Any more comments? Not, let's vote. Motion carries 4 with Commissioner Oliver absent. Congratulations. We're looking forward to
Yeah,
seeing
at that
something-
restaurant.
seeing something there. Thank you, sir.
Great idea.
About 3-minute recess. Quick. 3 minutes. All right, we're back in session. We're down to item 11, appointment of members to the 2019 Canvassing Board. All right. Commissioner Grogan,
Yes, sir.
who's your appointment to the
Oh,
Canvassing?
I don't have one.
That's right, you can't.
You can't.
Commissioner Wilson,
Jean Grafton?
Gene Grafton. You got that, Melody? All right, Commissioner Fershman.
Actually,
No,
the
You're
only,
running, I can't do it either. Yeah, we
no,
can.
actually, it's gonna, the 3 citizens would be appointed from the mayor, Commissioner Wilson, and Commissioner Oliver.
Okay, that's not
All
what
right.
it says, but that's.
All right,
that's what we're
I'm
talking
Does it
doing,
say that?
Bill Maxwell.
about.
So now you can get, that has to be a citizen telling, so,
Yeah, it does. Commissioner Johnson, Oliver.
all right,
Yes.
Commissioner Oliver.
Yes, I will contact Commissioner Oliver. He did give me a name, but it's understood that I guess the person he provided is not a resident of Ocoee, so I will reach out to him, see if I can get a name, and he can bring it to the next meeting in March. It's still before the board's gonna meet,
Right.
so that can be voted at,
All right.
at that meeting.
All right, so,
Since it is my district for the election, I'm requesting that if I can, have someone from the city, or I want it on record that I will protest that, if it's not.
well, he said it's gotta be in the city, and we all
Okay.
agreed to that.
If we already read it, good.
Also, I wanna know on this, from Commissioner Wilson, give us this letter that this gentleman sent. Did you ask for it to be put in the record? If not, I'll ask for it now.
Well, because when I get mail from, when it's
Yeah.
something on the agenda, I usually send it to Melanie so that, I don't know if everyone else got it, but
received
I
it.
just wanna go ahead and let you,
Well, I won't,
I thought it had to be put in the record.
well, I'm gonna ask for it to be put in the record.
Which
All
one
right,
was that, the
Melanie,
two of them?
I'll turn them to you. There's two letters here.
Correct, yeah.
We'll put them in.
We
have
do
them put
have
in.
it, we scan them
Okay.
into the record.
I'm gonna ask that we do that.
We did get one I did get one today, I don't know if anyone else got it, but it had no content in it. So I don't know what, I
Oh, you
sent it to.
couldn't open it?
It said no content. So I sent it to Melanie anyways, and if
Yeah,
they wanna
all right.
figure out.
I
they can.
I need a motion from somebody that we approve the two names that we turned in.
Can I make that motion?
Gene Grafton and Bill Maxwell.
Can I make that motion?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know since I put a name, I make motion to approve, our submissions from District Two and from the mayor. Or
Aye.
waiting, Mr. Oliver's.
I second that. Any more comments? Let's vote. Motion carries 4, and with Commissioner Oliver absent.
Is that yours?
No, but I'll take it.
All right. All right, comments from the commissioners. Commissioner First,
No comment.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes, I have a couple comments. I know, gave you 3 minutes and now I've got, Al, I have a question if you don't mind for you. I've been informed that due to the construction issues down on the lake, that folks have been parking on Oakland Avenue, I guess to go down to the park, down to the front of the, to the park. What can we do to resolve that? Because Oakland is not wide enough to have people park on it.
Right. Under our city ordinances, the police chief can designate no parking areas, and we have done so, for some of the special events, so people don't park on the streets around the events. So he would need to be able to do that because of the width of the street. If you parked on that street, it's less than a 20-foot width, and you parked a car there, then the fire trucks would, for example, would have difficulty getting through there. And so we would just need to put up those same sort of temporary signs. We have also identified, of course, they can park in the area there behind the Women's Club and then the grass across from there, that'll still be accessible. We are going through that area relative to putting in the sidewalk and the parking along there. That should be finished by Monday.
Yeah, we just got the heads, it looks like the thumbs up from the police chief, so that's, okay, thank you. One more area, I know we mentioned this during our CRA meeting about having a citizen chance to come in and see what's going on with the CRA. I felt that with the lake, the lake shore of the park, what we've been doing, I was thinking for District 2, but because most of it encompasses District 2, but I think it would benefit the whole city. If we had a meeting one day, maybe before our commission meeting, and put pictures out, and I think we can combine it with the CRA, and show what's going on, the progress at the park, kind of give them the phases. And when we mentioned it, when you mentioned it tonight at the CRA meeting, I think it'd be a great time to do a joint meeting, again, maybe right before a commission meeting, maybe from like 5 to 6 or 4:30 to 5:30, to where residents could come in, look at what's going on with the CRA, and also look at the current status of the park and what we're doing in our downtown, not just the park, but our downtown project. Because I get asked by a lot of residents, they're right here and they see all this construction going on.
That's nice.
And I know they were very interested in the charrettes when we did them, but now it's kind of like just enlightening them as to what progress is happening. And so, is that something I think the commission, I don't want to make it just a District 2, I think it should be the citywide, because our residents are, this is their project.
Just to clarify, this is something before one of the upcoming meetings, more like an open house type thing. We have staff here and maybe some displays.
Before a
and we can
commission
answer
meeting, so
questions
maybe
and
like
those
4:30 to 5:30, and
Okay.
then you could move the items outside in the hall, so it doesn't conflict with the meeting. And they could stand out there if they want some of the employees want to stand there and talk, staff talk to them.
You just did consensus.
But I think, is that?
Consensus is fine.
Consensus.
And if you'd like, if you just want it before one of the next couple of meetings, or if you want a date specific, just let us know.
Well, I think that, Ms. Corliss mentioned that they weren't gonna be ready till April or May with something for the CRA. And I thought if we did them together, so let's wait until that's ready, and then we could be working on it all together. I know it would affect.
Okay, we like
Al.
that idea. That's good.
But I think it's kind of a great time to combine it, get people to come in for an hour.
Sure.
Okay, and, no, I think I've already, those are the two items that I was concerned, that is, yes, that's it, sorry, my notes, thank you.
All right, Commissioner Grogan.
Yes, please don't forget, March 12th, we have a city election, District 1 seat. It'll be at the Jim Beach Center, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Please get out and vote. That's all I have, man.
All right, I appreciate everybody's efforts tonight. Took a little longer, but turned out okay, so appreciate, Spring Fling, what is that date again?
Spring Fling is March the 9th from 10 to 2, and it will be in Bill Breeze Park.
I'll be out of town, but I'll be thinking about you.
Well, thank you.
Anybody else got any comments?